We all know the story of America's founding fathers, sick of brutal tyranny, demanding representation with taxation, bravely saying, "Enough," to burdensome taxes and violent redcoat control. They came together to declare independence and birthed our great nation. And today, as we celebrate the semi-sestercentennial, that means 249 years since the ratification of the Declaration of Independence, there may be something you didn't know about these post-Enlightenment mavericks. Today, I'm not concentrating on the negative here, as a few, yes, had slaves. Yet others abhorred the practice. What we're going over today are their inventions. Yes, their creations, designs, brilliance, and contributions to science while also fighting for and founding a new republic. First off, we have the first president once the Constitution was solidified, George Washington. He signed the first patent after creating the preeminent patent office, and all the patents for the next several years as president. And though it's not patented, he designed a rather brilliant 16-sided structure for threshing grain. Threshing is the post-reaping process of removing the outer husk from grain crops. And though the mechanical threshing machine was invented a few years previously in Scotland, that tech had yet to reach across the pond. Traditional methods exposed the grain stalks to insects, dirt, rain, and mud. This method used an upper threshing floor where the grain was laid out. Then equines would trample the bundles, and the grain would fall to a gathering level below. Besides this, he was an accomplished surveyor, which most biographers credit with his winning strategies in the Revolutionary War. He also designed a new type of plow, which was a plow and a seeder, which he then redesigned and made better. Yet even though he established the U.S. Patent Office and signed the patents for years, he never himself applied for a patent for these designs, even after he left office. In addition, his designs for an early transport canal led to the building of the C&O Canal, still in use, operated by the Army Corps of Engineers. Speaking of which, since he was adamant about the need for engineering schools in the newly founded land, the first engineering school on these shores, West Point, has a giant statue of our founding engineer, George Washington, POTUS number 1, practicing his equitation. While I'm at it, and since this channel is going to mostly be about books, I want to take you aside to an oft-overlooked aspect of the American Revolutionary War effort, that of women. This book, Revolutionary Mothers, Women in the Struggle for America's Independence, from 2007, was stunning. My review headline is Elegant Writing with Scary and Amazing Stories of Strength in Times of War. There will be a link to my review in the show notes. Now we have an all-too-brief visit with the pioneering founding father who is best known as being an inventor, Benjamin Franklin. Yes, Franklin, the womanizing, self-described drunkard whom every kid knows harnessed lightning to a key on a kite and didn't die. Well, the truth around that image and the real story of that specific experiment is a little more accomplished than that. But that will be for another time, maybe for the actual sesquicentennial, not the semi-sestercentennial. However, he did invent the lightning rod, and also a new type of stove, which was actually a fireplace, which was designed to transfer more heat to a room with less smoke coming into the heated room. We also have labels of positive and negative in electricity. Guess which polymath first labeled these different electrical forces, then called vitreous and resinous? You guessed it. Even today, his brilliance with electricity leaves us with a Franklin, FR, which is a measurement of static electricity. And this article, from the journal ISIS, devoted to the history of science, is titled, Franklin's Experiments on Heat Absorption as a Function of Color. Yes, he tested how items reacted to different temperatures over time based on their color. How cool is that? But bifocals, like these damn things I have to wear? Well, it is true he invented the handicap equalizing device in the 1760s. Yet he never patented it, believing, as ConstitutionFacts.com puts it, inventions should serve others, and only through this free access could improvements be made on them. Well, that is exactly what happened, since John Isaac Hawkins later created trifocals. He is the one who made the label for both visual devices. Clearly, Franklin was more concerned for future generations than for his own pocketbook. He was already moderately wealthy. Our nation's third president, however, takes the cake in founding father innovation. Thomas Jefferson was an adept architectural designer. Here are just two buildings of his: the state capitol of Virginia and his home, Monticello. Also, seeing the need for higher educational institutions in the new country, he founded the University of Virginia. Jefferson was an ardent supporter of the French metric system. He developed interchangeable parts for firearms and created, like Franklin without patenting, a new type of plow, which not only dug trenches in the soil, but turned it over and broke the soil into smaller clumps while doing so. He declared in a letter to John Taylor that it was mathematically demonstrated to be perfect. My favorite Jeffersonian invention, however, is one most of us utilize at least weekly, and most households and offices in America have: the swivel chair. That's right. Think Bart Simpson with a fire extinguisher spinning around on one in an abandoned warehouse. When I did it, I nearly busted my clavicle. Jefferson produced a prototype which used casters like those in rope-hung windows and had it with him when he wrote early drafts of the Declaration of Independence. And now, it's time for my favorite founding father, Thomas Paine. In his majestic book, The Demon-Haunted World, Carl Sagan rightly pointed out Paine, quote, is probably the most illustrious American revolutionary uncommemorated by a monument in Washington, D.C., end quote. Paine was not only a great scientific thinker whose philosophical writings discussed the solidification of reason science. He wrote a profound 47-page pamphlet called Common Sense, which made an impassioned argument for secession from Britain. An earlier foundational composition to that, The American Crisis No. 1, was read by George Washington to his troops, helping inspire and solidify support for the war. In addition to helping invent the United States of America, he invented a smokeless candle and designed a new type of bridge, one with new materials. There was actually a real problem at hand, discussed in this book, Tom Paine's Iron Bridge. Building a United States, namely Paine realized the need for infrastructure in these new United States. And bridges needed to be sturdy, weather-resistant, and most importantly, must be able to span from bank to bank without impeding shipping traffic. This was no mundane complication. Paine saw the need for growth in the new republic. Wooden bridges wore down quickly, needing maintenance and upkeep, with an upper limit on the ability to span a channel. Stone bridges were heavy and had span limits, decaying over time because of heat and cold stresses. He showed a prototype of an iron bridge exhibited in England. However, especially in England, his writings were considered heretical and he was ill-heard. 30 years after his death, an iron bridge using a great deal of his iron-based spiderweb designs was finally built in the new country. And here it is, the Dunlap Creek Bridge in Brownsville, PA. And it is still in use. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have links below, and if you liked it, you know what to do, and of course your comments are welcome. Peace.